Redline Logbook here for the second arc of D. Gray Man, The Ghost of Matter. This arc starts off with both Alan and Kanda training. Alan is doing upside down one finger push-ups while balancing on a chair, which is absurd, and Kanda is doing blindfolded sword training while cutting falling leaves. This shows just how absurdly strong exorcists are, but also it shows just how twisted this world is, because if you look at the image with Kana in the woods, there is no forest floor. The tree roots have covered everything. And even though it's the middle of the day and there's not a cloud in the sky, the world is eerily gray. After training, they both go to the mass hall, where Alan meets the head chef, Jerry, who is an Indian man, who obviously the name Jerry is a nickname because he's Indian. And two, the name box goes out of its way to specify this is a male because he talks like a woman. But more importantly, we are revealed the one thing that all main characters have back 20 years ago or so when people were writing manga. He eats a lot. Alan literally ordered everything you can imagine, from Western to Eastern food, and that's literally just his breakfast. Pretty standard thing that anime characters did back then. Alan overhears Kana getting into an argument with some of the other members of the Black Order. So the Black Order has two main groups of people that go out into the field. The Exorcists, who wear black and kill Akuma, and the normal people who are known as the Finders, whose job it is to find innocents. Kanda has no respect for any of these people because he doesn't see them worthy of his time since they're not exorcists. And while some of them were grieving over the fact that they lost a comrade, Kanda's basic response was, "I don't want to hear about the dead while I'm trying to eat. Shut up." And the argument gets to a point where Kanda literally starts to choke out the man. And of course, Alan steps in to stop this from happening because it's clearly an unfair fight. It's a normal person versus an exorcist. But they get interrupted by River, who tells them that they have a mission. And so they're both summoned to Kamui's office, where he is sleeping and has to be forced to be woken up. But then Kamui gets it together and gives them their mission together, which both Alan and Kanda are completely pissed off about because they already hate each other. But Kamui doesn't care. They're both exorcists and they both have to do this mission. So he hands them their briefings and tells them they're going to southern Italy to find a piece of innocence before the Akuma destroy it. Alan is finally given proper exorcist robes, and apparently they are designed to help out an exorcist move better and fight. They also add a form of protection. Also, the right sleeve and glove were messed with by the alchemist, so it transforms with his Akuma weapon, so he doesn't end up destroying his clothes. Tinkampi is also back. Apparently, golems record everything that they see, and so Kamui basically took him so he can then extract the data so he can view everything that was happening with Alan this entire time. And he actually spent an entire all-nighter watching the videos of Alan's life with Tinkampi, which is why he was asleep when they first met him. So while Kamui is a scatterbrain, the man is a hard worker. So all in southern Italy, in the town of Maltel, there is the Seekers and the Akumas. And the Seekers were able to trap the Akumas with their talisman box. It's basically a lantern that projects a specific type of energy that is holy in nature that can hold an Akuma. The only problem is that one of the Akumas was on the verge of evolving, and as a result of this, it's able to break free and starts to slaughter the Seekers. And we get to see our first look of a level 2 Akuma. This one is a clown. And yes, it is demonic, as creepy as you can imagine it can be. And as you can imagine, the Seekers are getting slaughtered because now they don't have the technology to hold back a level 2. And so all they can do is keep the innocents safe for as long as possible while they wait for the exorcist to arrive. And these men are very dedicated to their job. They are willing to put their lives on the line to do just that. Back to Alan and Kanda, the two of them, plus a Seeker named Toma, have to jump onto a moving train and enter to the roof. While there, the man on board tells them that they can't be here, but Toma tells them that they are part of the Black Order. The man on the train sees the cross on their uniform and realizes, oh, okay, and he gives them their private room. So this is a common thing that you'll see throughout the series where there are people across the world who give aid to the Vatican in killing Akuma. So, the innocents start off with a rumor known as the Ghost of Malto. The Ghost of Malto was said to be a former resident of this ghost town who over time became more lonely and lonely until eventually started kidnapping children. This, of course, not true. The Ghost of Malto is actually a doll. So Malto was a land that sat between the mountains and the dry lands, and so it's referred to as the area forsaken by God. It is a miserable place to live, and the people, to find joy in life, started creating dolls that would sing and dance for them to bring them entertainment. But even then, the people eventually got bored of the dolls and just left. And so, after 500 years, one of the dolls survived because of a piece of innocence that kept it going. The evil clown eventually finds where they're hiding, and he basically starts to slaughter all of the finders and is trying to kill the doll to destroy the innocent. And we actually get to meet the doll and the human that is currently accompanying the doll, Garu and Lala. So by the time Alan and Kanda get there, they're basically too late, and Kanda realizes that all of them are dead. And he basically tells Alan if he gets into trouble, he's going to abandon him, because sacrifices need to be made, and he's going to complete his mission no matter what. Alan is disgusted by this way of thinking. The Akuma are currently firing their bullets at the doll, the innocent specifically, but it's surviving, and the main reason for this is because the supporters gave up their lives to combine their talismans into a box that could keep the innocent safe long enough for the Exorcist to get there. But as a result of this, they themselves, couldn't be inside the box. And to deal with the anger of the fact that he can't destroy the innocents, he goes ahead and just tortures the supporters to death. Like I said, these men are dedicated to the mission. Alan sees him killing people, and so he rushes in to fight him. And Alan and the clown are actually pretty even in strength. Khan's a lot more cool-headed. In fact, he thinks Alan's an idiot for rushing in, because they actually have no idea what the Akuma's special ability is. Yeah, so when you hit level 2 as an Akuma, apparently, each one is granted a special ability that's different from every other one. And Khan has no interest in fighting this clown unless he knows what that ability is. Not just that, but Akumas also have their own personalities as well. They have a sense of sentience, self that the other Akumas don't. So, their own ability, plus they're smarter. That's the problem. And so, Khan decides to prioritize collecting the innocents. So he activates his innocence and uses it to create these, I would say, death creatures from his sword that slaughter all of the level 1 Akumas. He then rushes in to get the doll. He grabs the doll and he takes off, and he repeats basically what he said down before, which is, you made this choice, you decided to fight this thing without thinking, you're on your own. Alan is, of course, disappointed in Kanda, but he says, alright, fine, I'll kill this thing on my own. Alan is more disturbed by this Akuma than he's ever been disturbed, because, once again, he can see the soul of the individual who is the Akuma, and it has been coated in this darkness. It is being corrupted as soon as it leveled up. Once again, him and the Akuma are equal in strength, and at a certain point, he actually cuts the Akuma down. But Alan could feel that it wasn't real, and that's when the Akuma appears behind him and stabs him in the back, as Alan. The fake turns into Tim Campy, which means it was wearing a clone of the clown, and the clown is now wearing a clone suit of Alan. In fact, he even has Alan's arm. He mocks Alan for not knowing that Akumas have special abilities when they hit level 2, and once again, Kanda could have warned him, but Kanda, like he said before, you're on your own. And so the clown is then able to finish off, or at least he thinks he finished off Alan. And the next thing the clown does is go after Tim Campy. As for Alan, he of course was able to block the attack with his arm, with his anti-Akuma weapon. Alan starts to stand back up, but as he does, the ground falls underneath him, and he falls into a town within the town. It's like a tunnel system. That's when we jump back over to Kanda, who's talking with Lala, and she's informing him that there is in fact an underground tunnel system where they can hide from the Akuma. Tumas then starts to contact Kanda through his golem, because it collects radio signals, and he's currently watching Alan get his shit rocked, and then after that, watch Tinkambi get smashed to pieces by the clown. Kanda orders him to collect Kintambi's pieces and come to him, and he gives him their location. Kanda then goes back to Lulu and Gazaro and asks them if they really know how to get through the tunnels. And Gazaro reveals his face, ugly as all hell, and says, yes, I've lived here for 500 years, I can get us through this. Kanda was actually surprised that a doll could talk. Gazaro then asked, does he want to take his heart? And Kanda says, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. In fact, it would be better if I took it right now. It would be easier than carrying you around. Lala then says you can't do that. You still need him because only he knows how to get through the tunnels. Without him, you would be lost. Kanda then asked, who are you? And before she can answer, Gazaru tells Kanda that he's just a lost child that he adopted. That's when Toma shows up, and Kanda actually does something nice. He says, you can keep your heart for now, but we're going to have to take it eventually. And then he apologizes for the two of them for getting them involved in all this. Tinkampi is completely shattered, but that doesn't matter. And Kanda just tells him to show him what happened. Tinkampi then reforms and then produces a projection of Alan's fight with the clown. So the clown's basic ability is to copy anything, but it's always in reverse. Kanda then says that if they ever see Alan and his eye is on the wrong side or his arm is on the wrong side, then that means that's the Akuma, and he would be easy to kill. So while Kanda is strategizing, both Lala and Garu decide to escape. Two of them run away and they go into the tunnel system, and they just jump straight into a pit. And Lala uses her arm to slow down the fall so the two of them can survive. Her arm is completely destroyed, and it's basically revealed that she was the doll all along, and Garou is the human. Garou also starts coughing up blood, which means he's reaching the end of his life. We pop over to Alan, who is currently wandering through the tunnels, lost, and he's actually freaking out, wishing Tim Campy was here. He must have a psychic link to Tim Campy because Tim Campy hones in on where Alan's at, and he starts to eat through the walls to get to Alan. While that's happening, a reverse Alan starts to walk towards Kanda, trying to say his name over and over again, but obviously it's a reverse, and so Kanda's response is to kill it. And right before the reverse Alan is killed, the real Alan appears and stops the attack. The reason for this is because this is not the Akuma. This, Tama, disguised by the Akuma as Alan, and was trying to warn Kanda. And the Tama that is currently behind Kanda was actually the Akuma, and actually mocks Kanda for saying, "Who's the idiot now?" And he fucks Kanda up. First he smashes him and pins him against a wall, and then uses Alan's arm to slice him down from shoulder to hip, cutting every organ in between. Kanda's covered in blood, but he just stands back up. And the Akuma's like, "Just die already!" And Kanda's response is, "I can't die until I find that person." Alan then pops in and smacks the Akuma away. But even with that big strike, it still is standing. And it was no small attack. Alan literally cuts him in half, and the Akuma is just still going. He just puts himself back together. Alan is injured, and so are the other two, and so his only option at that point is to carry both Kanda and Tama out of there. And he starts to wander randomly through the tunnels once again, until he hears a song. And he realizes, oh, that must be the doll. And so he heads towards it, interrupts her song, crying, and Lala's response is, "I'm a doll." And Garou's saying, "Well, it just sounds sad." And Lala's only response to that is, "Why did you lie about being a doll?" And Garou tells her, "I don't want anyone else to break you. When the time comes and I'm at my end, I will be the one to break you. That will be our promise." Lala agrees and says she's Garou's doll. That's when Alan walks in and asks, "Are you the doll we're looking for?" And Lala's response is to pick up a giant stone pillar and chuck it at him. First off, I understand why she's defensive at this moment, because these two don't want to die just yet. But also, the fact that she's that strong has to be because of the innocence, because she's literally a doll who's meant to dance and sing. That's insane. Alan dodges the first one, she grabs the second one, chucks it. Alan grabs it, then throws it back at her, but he wasn't actually aiming for her, he was aiming at all the other pillars, smashing them to pieces and saying, "Okay, now there's nothing else you can throw. Let's talk." So 80 years ago, Garou, when he was a child, was abandoned by his family for being ugly. And he was left in Malta. That's where Lulu found him. And she was a doll desperate looking for anyone to sing for. And the sick thing is that he's the sixth child that she asked to sing for. They all got scared of her, called her a monster, and ran away. She killed all of them. And she was planning on doing the same thing to Gaara. That is until he said, "Wait, you want to sing for me? No one's ever offered to sing for me." And now Gaara is dying. His heart is slowing down every single day. And all she wants is to be by his side when that happens. Because for 500 years, she was alone, scared, and sad. And this was the only person that showed her love. Kanda apparently was conscious the entire time. That's when he finally gets up and says, "No, take the innocence now. We need to protect it." And Alan straight up refuses. Alan doesn't have the heart to separate these two. But Kanda says, "No, you have to do this." He chucks his uniform back at Alan that he was using as a pillow. And he says, "That is not meant to be used as a pillow. That cross is your uniform. That is your duty. That is your sacred oath. Sacrifices need to be made to protect the world." Alan's response is, then he'll make the sacrifice. He will go out and kill the Akuma. If that happens, then there's no need to get in their way. Making so many sacrifices to win a war in the end is meaningless. And Kanda just snaps at that, punches Alan in the face. "Don't you consider anything important?" And Alan's response is basically, "I'm a small man. I can't just abandon what's in front of me for something like the world." He'll protect everything that he can that's in front of him. And that is when the Akuma attacks and shoves its arms straight through Lala and Garou. It ripped out the innocence that was powering Lala, and it just gored Garou, and just drops both of their corpses on the ground like they didn't matter. This causes Alan to snap, and completely filled with rage and bloodlust, and actually starts to mutate his innocence. Alan rushes forward in a fury, and his innocence goes from a claw arm into a gun. But the bullets are weird because it fires solid crystallized matter that you can stand on. It's the most insane ammunition I've ever seen. They are literally rods that are about as long as a human leg and about as thick as your arm. The Akuma escapes and buries itself into the sand. Not just that, but it also churned itself into sand because it's able to use its copy ability and copy itself as a pile of sand. It then swallows Alan inside of it, uses the Alan arm to then stab itself, stabbing Alan. But Alan's synchronization with his innocence is actually increased, and so when he blocks, it actually shatters the Akuma's arm because Alan's armor is now stronger. His arm now transforms to a gun, to this weird thing that looks like the gun, but the bore is smaller, and a single rod comes out like a laser sword, and he uses it to cut the sand armor away. The two then clash, with the Akuma using the Alan arm and him using his cannon again, and this time Alan is able to overwhelm the Akuma, smashing him backward. In fact, the Akuma is actually surprised that he's now weaker than Alan and is actually starting to freak out. Unfortunately, Alan hits his limit first and starts puking up blood. The Akuma then goes, "Ha! I win!" charges forward to kill Alan. And then Kanda does the one thing he said he wasn't going to do. He saves Alan. Alan's actually surprised by this, but then Kanda then ruins it by scolding Alan about how he fell apart at the end. He couldn't actually get the win. But the two decide to finish off the Akuma together, where they both use their long-range attacks, Alan his gun and Kanda his evil spirits, and the two completely obliterate the Akuma. In fact, not just that, but they completely blast open the city that they're under and leave a giant gaping hole where they annihilated a couple city blocks worth of buildings. That's when Alan is able to collect the innocence and put it back into Lulu. We then skip 3 days into the future, where Kamui is currently complaining towards Kanda for not coming back as soon as they got the innocence. He explains that Alan put the innocence back in the doll and he just wouldn't let Kanda just take it. Kanda then starts to walk out of the hospital when the doctor tries to stop him because it's going to take months for Kanda to heal, but he then shows former wound where he had his entire chest and stomach cut open is gone. And the doctor's like, that's not possible. Says, well, it is, so I'm leaving. And he just walks out the door. And this healing ability has nothing to do with his innocence. We know this because Kamui then starts to be concerned that it took him 3 days to heal. And he says, this means your life reserve is running out. And we get an image of this tattoo that's on Kanda's chest. And whatever that is, that's what's connected to his healing ability and not his innocence. So what happened to Lala and Garu? So after Alan put the innocence back into Lala, she didn't return into Lala again. She turned back into the doll she was. She goes over to Garu and asks him if he wants to hear a song. And Garu goes, "So, you want to sing for me?" Which is what he said last time to her when you were a child. It's basically a starting over because he realized that Lala's gone. And then Lala starts to sing him a lullaby because Gaara is, well, dying. And even though Gaara died 3 days ago, Lala has been singing non-stop. Kanda then says that he has to go on another mission, and so it's his job to bring back the innocence. Alan says he will. He'll just wait for Lala to stop, because the promise was that Gaara would be the one to break Lala. And since Gaara is now dead, no one can do that. Kanda actually starts to feel sorry for Alan because he says to him, "You're naive. We're destroyers, not saviors." Then the lullaby stops, and they realize the doll had broken down finally. Alan then goes in, he sees Lala. She actually turns her head and says, "Thank you for letting me sing until I break down. Our promise is now fulfilled." Which means, at some point, Lala turned back into Lala, and she knew what she was doing. That's why she kept singing for 3 days, even after Gaara was dead. And then we get to see Alan cry for the first time, and he tells Kanda, "I know what you said was true, but I want to be a destroyer that can save." And that is the end of the Ghost of Mata arc. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you can enjoy more D. Gray Man anime things. Thank you, and have a great day.